Another edition of Riding Home. Dean Legge, Ryan Curley. We're almost done with the first week of college football, Ryan. We are done with Georgia's first game. Kirby Smart reacting today to a lot of different stuff. I don't know where you want to start, but we'll start with you.
We'll start with Carson Beck, man. We'll start with
Let's
the quarterbacks.
let's go.
He was, yeah. Look, Carson Beck, the quarterbacks, they're getting their fair share of talk on the internet. Kirby, as always, talks about he doesn't care about that. But look, he defended Carson. Anyone that's doubting his performance, he thought he was pleased with the performance. You know, I don't want to say made an excuse for Carson, but look, the situation is not completely healthy. Some of your primary weapons just weren't on the field, aka Lab McConkey and Dejan Edwards, who are both going to be very important this year. And didn't turn the ball over, scored 2 touchdowns, had a somewhat efficient game. So yeah, Kirby Smart, that was one of the biggest things today was just reaffirming his confidence in Beck as Georgia's quarterback and trying to reaffirm that for whatever naysayers may have came out of this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so interesting, Ryan, because having digested all of the Florida State LSU game,
Mm.
um, there was some really not great quarterback play in that game. That was not exclusive to. But I think both quarterbacks did not play well at times, and there were times they both played well. They were playing a different caliber of team, but it's again not who you play, how you play. I thought Carson, looking back on it, I thought Carson played pretty well. I think there were some adjustments, and Kirby talked about this actually. I want to read this. I want to read this one quote from him, if I can get it on the screen, that we got over on Dog Post about what Kirby said specifically, and this was my somewhat criticism on the offensive line. He said it was probably less on Tennessee Martin and more on us. The team did a good job. Tennessee Martin did a good job of changing things up. We had some plans to handle some things a different way, and they did a couple things to hurt us. Probably hurt our offensive line more than our offensive line didn't play well. So basically, he's saying, and I'll finish the quote. He's saying the coaches screwed this up. He said we probably got to do a better job of helping out in game adjustments and things like that. I did think the offensive line played better in the second half. They pass protected well, which is what Ryan Curley said in Riding Home throughout the game. Reading really the first and second half, we didn't run the ball particularly well in the first half, and that probably led to some of the issues we had. So your commentary on what Kirby had to say there.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting that he thought it was a coaching issue, I guess, with the run. But I think plain and simple, they just didn't run the ball very well.
No,
It wasn't up to the Georgia standard for running the ball. And when you do enter a season where we're discussing them as one of the best position units in all of college football, and potentially the best offensive line in college football, I think you expect them to kind of bully a team that's just not physically as talented as them. And UT Martin, you expect a different level of physicality and bullying that I think just didn't happen in the run game. And look, part of that is part of that's on the backs themselves. I mean, Milton is not 100% healthy.
right.
You don't have Edwards. Cash Jones, Roderick Robinson, and Andrew Paul, the other three guys who got touches, right? They barely played any football. I mean, Roderick Robinson and Andrew Paul literally had never stepped on a college football field before.
Yeah, I want to say something real quick. This is something I've not written yet over on Dog Post. Let me get myself back on the screen. Sometimes when I do the editing live, it gets a little bit tricky. But I was talking with someone today, an insider, and he said, what concerned him about what he saw was that Georgia was just moving forward with sort of there was not a lot of adjustments in terms of what they saw was what Georgia rolled with, and that Carson or Mike or whoever Kirby were not adjusting basing on what Tennessee Martin was showing them, and Kirby basically just confirmed what I was told earlier today, and they were worried about it a little bit. They weren't overly worried about it, and I just to me, Ryan, this is I think as usual there is a ton of overreaction to anything that happens on week one. I think that Carson Beck played really pretty well. It was not unbelievable, but there were not a lot of moments where it was like, oh my gosh, what is this guy doing?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
I
yeah. That's
saw.
something that, yeah. That's I know I'm cutting you off, but that's something that he mentioned today, and he mentioned it. Kirby did in the press conference on Saturday as well. That there were really only two throws that he wasn't happy with out of Carson. Going back and watching it again, he kind of reaffirmed that statement as well. That there was really only one or two where it was like, okay, Carson, you really did mess up in that situation. But again, credit was continually given to UT Martin and their defensive game plan.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I think
you.
I'm ready to venture out into the world now
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of
Hey, listen.
out of my undisclosed parking deck.
Undisclosed. I know exactly where it is personally. Make sure you're taking advantage of all we've got to offer this season with our friends from EcoPoly. This has been an awesome relationship so far. 20 years. All these chairs we're sitting in this season. We're going to showcase a lot more of them as time goes on. These are guaranteed for. They have a 20-year 20-year warranty, y'all. That's a lot. There's a lot of two-tone furniture. If you want red and black for your backyard, go for it. Weather resistant, easy to. Now, I know this from experience. They are easy to clean, and the fade resistant UV manufactured in Georgia, recycled material. All of our friends down in Eastman, Dodge County, that's where these are being made. We can't be more excited. Listen, you should be excited too. You can get 15% off any order, and you also get free shipping, Ryan. So this is a sturdy. I say this a lot. I weigh 250 pounds. Unfortunately, I'm going to try to lose a little weight. We'll see how that goes. But this has no problem holding me. It has no problem holding Ryan, who probably weighs 180.
Nah, dude.
Uh-oh.
I think I'm about 190 right now.
190.
That's a good question, actually. I'm stuck on the fact that you're talking about from experience that you having to clean these chairs. How dirty are you getting that chair in there, man?
In
You
here,
showering?
no. Oh, this is a great question, actually. Look how bright it is outside. So what happened was,
I know. I gotta pop these shades on.
as you know, we've got some of these. The Adirondack chair we're using is outside, and when the grass was cut the other day, there's stuff all over it, and I just cleaned it off. It's no big deal now. I mean, it's easy to use, and honestly, when you're paying the price of quality, you should expect quality, and you're getting quality with these guys. Did you think? Did you watch Florida State LSU? I mean, that's a stupid question. I know you watched it. Comments?
Yeah, yeah. I watched it. Look, second half collapse. Second half collapse is my comment on that. I mean, the offensive line for LSU did not play well, and Jaden Daniels did not respond to that pressure well. And I think a total collapse from LSU really in the second half. Look at the defense. Some of those touchdowns were easy.
Yeah, I mean, look, the only team we've not yet seen are the Taters. They're tonight.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I find it hard to believe that they lose to Duke, frankly.
Yeah, I don't know what Matt's talking about. If you watched our picks video, he seems like real confident this is going to be a single digit game. I don't know. I don't see it.
Let me just say this. We all three joke around each other. I take what Matt says seriously about when he's picking.
Well, yeah, I
when
do
he's
too.
picking football.
I didn't mean it like that.
No, I know you didn't. I know you didn't.
Get
but
off of me.
But I know Clemson pretty well. I feel like I have a handle on this thing. I think it could be. I just want to see how they play, because then we will have sort of everybody in the top 10 has played. We'll really know, like SC will have played twice. USC played better this week. We saw Georgia play one game. We've seen Alabama specifically, I think, is the only team you can really make the argument played better than Georgia. And I think that, or has played better than Georgia. And I think Notre Dame, you could make that argument as well. I just don't think Notre Dame's in Georgia's universe. So there's that. But I'm very curious, with today, I'm kind of getting off the sort of subject here, but with what Kirby said today, I mean, the whole thing, why, I don't know, this is a total mistake to get in here and talk about everything that happened wrong with Carson Beck. I mean, the guy went 21 of 31 for 300 yards, no picks, 2 scores. I just don't know. Here's what Kirby said about the improvements, Ryan, and I'll let you take it from there. There's so many things we can get better at, and every coach in the country is saying that that you got to get better, or you get better from game 1 to game 2 is the biggest jump you make. If that's the case, then there are a lot of areas to improve in. Certainly turnovers on defense, which he will not stop talking about, and he's right. Pursuit angles, we got cut back on several times. Offensively, ability to be explosive in the run game, bingo. Convert third downs. There's a lot of things. Special teams, I didn't think we didn't dominate the game in a way on special teams we're capable of. I can't pinpoint one area. That's because you can't pinpoint one area, Ryan, because there was no one area where like, man, this is a problem.
No, there wasn't an area like that. Look, I really think they're gonna roll Ball State, man. I
Why?
really do. I just like what he was saying, that game one to game two jump is usually pretty big, and I just think there was a lot of stuff they needed to just air out there in week one. You're transitioning to a new quarterback, a new coordinator. You're dealing with these injuries. Those guys should be healthier and potentially back on Saturday. I think that there will be a lot of adjustment. They've got extra time to work on it because of Labor Day. He talked about how important that was today, that they've got more stuff that they can work on because of, without having school. Why are you just in the middle of the road?
Let me say this too while you're getting ready to rant. Here's what he said. This is a very important, I think, comment from the press conference today. He said he was talking about the very curious run call late in the half. Now they had 27 seconds and ran a draw or just a handoff to the left hand
Yeah.
side. No timeouts. Not smart. He goes, bad deal, man. Bad deal. To be honest with you, just missed a cue, not knowing how close it was to the goal line and probably making a decision too fast. We spent a lot of time on those moments like that, and I take a lot of pride in those moments. Should never happen, is what he said. Should never. He repeats it. Should never happen. Should never happen. But making a decision really fast, sometimes you don't make the right decision. We had enough time. We actually got the ball snapped without losing any time on the clock, which is true. But the decision was thinking it was probably closer than it was, and it cost us at least one play. So I was in the stands during that. You were on the field, and I, I don't hate running the ball. I hate running the
Uh,
ball. I
I,
hate.
I,
Let me just say this real quick. I hate running the ball when you don't have any timeouts. I mean, that was. I mean, obviously, that's everybody said. Well, yeah. So they weren't running with no problem on Saturday. That was just real. I think the thing that is so. I don't know why no one asked him that after the game. Most of the time I'm working after the game. I may be there, but typically I'm trying to do stuff for folks over on dogpost.com. Why didn't anybody ask that question? That was did someone ask that question? I missed it on Saturday night.
you know what? He was getting so ahead of it, talking about like this is whatever. I'm not really mad at Kirby, but he was just more so than usual getting ahead about how he doesn't care about what
That's true.
people had to say, stuff like that. That I think people took that message and I don't know, for lack of a better term, went easy on him. But yeah, and it's hard for me to ask questions from where I'm at too in that room, so I kind of don't post game with him. But it just was. I mean, I was right down there right there in the end zone. It was just bad clock management.
It
They had
was.
an opportunity to. They were so close on hitting some of those quick hitting passes from 5 or 6 yards out in the end zone. They had an opportunity to run a few plays and try to get that going. And I just thought that was a mistake there. And 21-0 and 17-0, feels different heading into halftime.
What if I told you? And I'm still going through the data here. What if I told you that was the third longest game that Georgia's played under Kirby Smart, only behind an overtime game with Oklahoma and the game against Cincinnati, the Peach Bowl in 2020. I want to make sure I'm completely correct about that. I'm doing this on the fly here.
What about 19 against South Carolina?
19 South Carolina was not. Is that what you asked?
Hmm.
That was an overtime game as well. I'll
Yeah,
look
that's
I'll
why I
look for
figured it
that
might be
real quick.
longer.
But it's driving me crazy. I
Dude,
well,
it
let
took
me just spit
forever. I
this out
mean,
real quick.
we all wanted to get out of there, and
Let,
that's,
let
I
me spit
mean,
let me spit this out. That game, by the way, was 3 hours. According to Georgia, was 3 hours and 52 minutes. Ryan, that's not acceptable. So the Carolina game was 3 hours and 41 minutes. That's a pretty long game. But from from
yeah.
from what I can see, the Oklahoma game was 4 hours and 5 minutes. The Cincinnati game was the Cincinnati game. I'm sorry, Ryan, for taking so long. Was not longer. I misspoke. So there's another game. UAB, excuse me, in 2021. I misspoke. I said Cincinnati. Those two games were longer, and I'll have to go back and look through. It's hard the way I track it, the way I put this in here, because sometimes it thinks the way I put the data in that 3 hours and 56 minutes is something other than 3 hours and 56 minutes. But 3 hours and 56 minutes for UAB Georgia. This game was 3 hours and 52 minutes, Ryan. The national championship game was 3 hours and 11 minutes.
Yeah, the UAB one is a little strange, but I guess they just kept scoring and kept scoring. The clock kept stopping so early. It felt like an eternity that night. Just 2 nights ago, it was lasting forever. I think that the injuries definitely had something to do with it. It felt like there were just a lot of injuries from the UT Martin side. Banged up.
There were.
Did anyone get? Did anyone like actively get hurt for Georgia on Saturday? I don't.
That Georgia got hurt.
Yeah, were all those injuries
Somebody
were UT Martin, right?
UT Martin was definitely the ones getting hurt. I do want to say one other thing. I probably will not put this in what we're hearing, but one of the person I was talking to earlier today said, UT Martin now is not the way it was, 6 years ago. You can just transfer now and play. So he said there were a lot of Division One guys, sort of ACC, SEC guys who play for UT Martin. Like the quarterback, I think, was at Ole Miss and left, or somewhere and left, and so that is an explanation people need to take into consideration as well. Is that 60-0 sometimes. I think they were much more like a low-level ACC team, like Boston College or somebody. But it doesn't matter. I mean, you have to play well with what's in front of you. I don't know if they'll play well against against Ball State. I do think they'd play well against Boston College, but you think they will.
Yeah, no, I do. I really think that they're going
Why?
to come out there firing.
Why?
I think that it'd be a good bounce back for them. I think that the team's hungry. No matter what they said, that they wish that they steamrolled them a little bit more than they did. Right? When there's a standard at Georgia, and 48-7 is 48-7, but I don't think that standard was necessarily met. And I do believe that they'll do what they can to meet that on Saturday.
Well, make sure you're tuning in to Riding Home, going over to dogpost.com. Thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the website.